Honorable Leader of the Movement of Ecologist Citizens Cooperation and Member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Haralambos Theopemptou, Honorable Minister of Health, Mr. Michalis Hadjipantelas, Honorable President of the EUC Council, Dr. Christoforos Hadjikyprianou, and distinguished members of the EUC Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, students, you are kindly requested to please take your seats. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the commencement ceremony of the School of Medicine. Please allow me to take a moment to express our appreciation to the Symphonic Band of Strovolos Municipality, European University Cyprus, and its conductor, Dr. Yannis Miralis, for the beautiful musical prelude. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the commencement ceremony of European University Cyprus School of Medicine is now in session. Please remain at your seats for the class of 2022 of the School of Medicine processional. The faculty and the platform party of the School of Medicine is now entering the ceremony arena with the President of the Cyprus Medical Council, Clinical Professor Petros Agathangelu, and the School of Medicine commencement speaker, Professor Sir Martin Evans. The Senate is now entering the ceremony arena, followed by the Dean of the School of Business Administration and the Dean of the School of Medicine, the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, and the Vice Rector of European University Cyprus. Please be seated. Honorable Leader of the Movement of Ecologist Citizens Cooperation and Member of the House of Representatives, Mr. Haralambos Theopemptou, Honorable Minister of Health, Mr. Michalis Hadjivandelas, Honorable President of the EUC Council, Dr. Christoforos Hadjikyprianou, and distinguished members of the EUC Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, students, welcome to this year's commencement ceremony of European University Cyprus School of Medicine. We are proud to have you with us as we confer the degree of Doctor of Medicine to our graduates. I would like to invite Dean Elizabeth Johnson for a short welcome address.
Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear students. We gather here today to celebrate a great moment of consequence in the lives of our graduates. All of the music, procession, ceremony that surrounds us on this day are meant to mark this one single decisive moment, the greatest moment of transition in the lives of these 66 graduates, our medical graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, the members of the graduating class had to accomplish a great deal to arrive at this moment. It's important to stress, however, that these accomplishments are not just those of our graduates alone. Behind each and every one is a story of family and friends, of parents who nourished and sacrificed, of grandparents, aunts, and uncles who supported and sustained them. As we look back on those who played a role in getting us here today, we need to honor the Senate, the council of our university, who served as constant sources of guidance and pillars of support. But let us also honor the faculty of the medical school who sit here before you on this stage. It was their responsibility to educate you. They've worked hard to give you the skills and the competencies so that you can practice the art of medicine. But we should also take a moment to thank the many members of our staff, the heart and soul of our school, who have worked so many hours to help you reach a productive time with us. Finally, this incredible journey could not have taken place without the efforts of the countless individuals in the Ministry of Health, in the Ministry of Education, our clinical instructors, our coordinators of our hospitals. We thank all of you. Graduands, when you first arrived, we challenged you. We challenged you to work hard, and you did. You devoted yourself to your studies. You created new knowledge through research. You published papers. You worked in clinics throughout Nicosia in Cyprus. Actually, in reality, you worked in clinics and labs around the world, including Oxford, Shriners Hospital, Johns Hopkins, among so many others. You saved lives, and you amazed us with your accomplishments. Many of you have received well-deserved accolades, and I'm very proud to say that several of you will graduate with honors this year. Just 6 years ago, during your convocation, you were given your first white coat in a ceremony that was a bit of a rite of passage to how to study medicine. To symbolize the importance of the bond between your teachers and student, by tradition, it is your teacher who cloaks you with your first white coat. Today, the fact that you will be hooded by your faculty reminds you that your journey to the mastery of medicine was made possible only with the continued guidance and support of your teachers and your mentors. To mark your transition from student to clinician, you will sign the Book of Graduates. Today, you will write the initials MD, medical doctor, for the very first time in front of your teachers, your families, your friends, all of those who have stood by you throughout these years. Now, during the white coat ceremony, you also took an oath, committing yourself to be an ethical and honorable student. Today, you will take another oath, the Hippocratic Oath. As you say this oath today, you will be bound by the professional commitments that bind all medical doctors. As you recite this oath, remember the high standards of performance and behavior to which each of you aspire as you enter upon your professional career as a clinician. Graduands, today marks the beginning of your future. And as you go forward, remember that you have chosen a profession that has great privilege. You are privileged to become a part of the lives of your patients. And with this privilege comes great responsibility. So embrace this privilege and embrace this responsibility. Make the difference in the lives of others, in the lives of your patients. You're now equipped with one of the great degrees of medicine, and you've earned the support of a school that will stand by you throughout your future. And now we proudly stand by you in this moment where you finally become a medical doctor. Congratulations, class of 22.
Thank you, Dean Johnson. I would like to invite the Rector, Professor Andreas Evstathiou, to the podium for a short welcome address.
Dear President of the Council, distinguished guests, dear graduates, it is my great pleasure and honor as Rector of European University Cyprus to welcome you this evening to the graduation ceremony of the School of Medicine. For everyone involved with university education, academic staff, students, their families and their friends, graduation is that most magical part of the academic calendar. It is that proud moment where we all share in the success of our graduates, and at the same time, we look forward to their future. This graduation ceremony is special for everyone at European University Cyprus, as it is the first taking place on our campus with the physical presence of staff, students, and their families and friends after 3 years. Being here in the splendid surroundings of our campus, which is buzzing with life today, celebrating your achievements with our entire community feels like an important step towards normality. I would also like to welcome the families and friends of our graduands. They have every reason to celebrate today together with our graduates, as they have played a pivotal role in supporting them in the last few years. Every graduation is a major achievement, but graduating from a school of medicine certainly ranks as one of the most significant achievements for an individual. Today, I would like to salute you on your success. You worked hard for 6 years for this momentous occasion, and you arrived at this one after navigating the very extraordinary circumstances caused by the pandemic that affected the whole humanity for the last couple of years. This definitely makes your success today even more significant. European University Cyprus has its roots in Cyprus College, which was founded in 1961, only 1 year after the founding of the Republic of Cyprus. Our university therefore ranks as one of the most historic academic institutions on the island. The mission of our university is to provide first-class education to our students who come from all over the world, conduct pioneering and responsible research and innovation, and serve the community here in Cyprus. An ever-increasing number of our professors collaborate with scientists in some of the finest universities in the world. Our professors also coordinate or participate in a number of prestigious projects which are funded by the European Commission, the Research and Innovation Foundation here in Cyprus, and a lot of other funding agencies. As an indication, our research activity in the last 5 years has increased by a factor of 4. And as a result, the university already fulfills the criteria for entering prestigious rankings like the Times Higher Education World University Rankings. At a time when international security and stability are at risk following the first major conflict in Europe after the Second World War, European University Cyprus reaffirms its commitment for international collaboration and welcomes students and academics from all over the world. We are very proud of the fact that this year, our university became the first university in Cyprus to offer programs of study outside Cyprus, in particular in China. The university is also preparing for offering its program in medicine at its branch in Frankfurt, Germany, from the new academic year. Dear graduates, you should be very proud of your achievement. At the same time, you should feel very privileged that you attended classes from professors that are world experts in their field and who, with their research, have made a significant contribution to medicine and humanity. Concluding, I would like to give you 3 simple pieces of advice, which from my own experience will help you to make the most of the education you have received in the last few years to achieve a fulfilling and rewarding career and life in the future. First of all, always try to do what is right and not just what is easier. Secondly, go out and explore the world, both physically and intellectually. And finally, never stop learning. I would like to warmly congratulate you for being one of the graduating class of 2022 from the School of Medicine of European University Cyprus. Thank you.
Thank you, Rector Evstathiou. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the commencement address to the graduating class of medicine will be delivered by Professor Sir Martin John Evans, recipient of the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2007. On behalf of the School of Medicine, it is a distinct honor to introduce this year's commencement speaker. Sir Martin Evans is a key pioneer in the field of stem cell biology. He received the 2007 Nobel Prize for Medicine with Mario Capecchi and Oliver Smirdis for their discoveries of the principles for introducing gene modifications with the use of embryonic stem cells. Sir Evans's pioneering work on embryonic stem cells now forms the basis of all targeted genetic manipulations, creating new routes for functional genomics. A graduate of Christ's College of Cambridge University and a PhD recipient from University College London, Sir Evans is the director of the School of Biosciences and professor of mammalian genetics at Cardiff University, where he served as Chancellor of Cardiff University from 2009 to 2017. Sir Evans is wearing a scarlet robe that represents the highest degree awarded by Cambridge University, that of Doctor of Science. This regalia is given by Cambridge University to recognize Sir Evans's immense scientific contribution. To this date, only 2 individuals have been honored with this distinction. It is a sincere pleasure to invite Professor Sir Martin Evans to the podium to address the School of Medicine class of 2022.
Welcome to everybody. I am absolutely delighted to be here and to visit your university and magnificent medical school. I want to, in this talk, congratulate you and to encourage you for the future. Congratulations, graduands. On entering into the school, and secondly, on your years of study there. The evidence base of knowledge and research-led teaching that you have enjoyed is one of the distinctive features of modern education. Many of you, sorry, can you not hear me? Right, many of you will have participated in research projects. Learn to ask new questions and to challenge conventional wisdom. Whatever your future, I hope that the free, inquiring state of mind will stay with you. And most importantly, congratulations and welcome to the many family, friends, and supporters who joined us today, many of whom have travelled great distances to be here. We owe a great deal to the support of family and friends, both moral support, guidance and encouragement, but in many cases also considerable financial support. I urge all of you who are graduating today to send your heartfelt thanks to everyone who has helped you, families, friends, partners, and the staff here. Now, often, at the end of one of my lectures, students would come and ask me earnestly, what do I need to know? And I'm afraid my regular answer, rarely satisfied them. I used to say, you need to understand the subject. But I think that Unsatisfying as this is, it is the right approach, particularly in biomedical sciences and medicine. Not, therefore, do you need to remember today's facts, or even remember to regurgitate the arguments. You need to be in a position where, as new knowledge emerges, you will be able to evaluate it, to interpret it, to understand it. As you go out into practice in your professional career, things will progress, things will change, more information will emerge. And some of it, more will be learnt, maybe by you and your colleagues. And you must be able to assimilate this new knowledge, to understand it and integrate it with what went before. As a scientist, you need to be able to critically evaluate new information and assemble into new hypotheses which may then be tested. But as a clinician, your patients will deserve the best. Not the best of 2022, but the up-to-date, best evidence-based treatment. You must please remain nimble in mind and open to change for the better. I personally owe my life to medical science. When I was 5 years old, I had a burst appendix, and my life was saved from the ensuing infection by a treatment with one of the very first synthetic antibiotics called MNB 693. This acted by inhibiting the bacterial metabolism of paraminobenzoic acid and hence folic acid synthesis in the bacterium. Now, in the ensuing 77 years during my lifetime, there's been a revolution in medical treatment, stemming from a cascade of new scientific and medical developments. I shall mention a few. We all know about the crisis in bacterial antibiotic resistance arising from their widespread, virtually unregulated global use. In this, biology is catching up with us. It's just evolution in action. Of course, this is just one example of humankind's wanton destruction of its own home. It is to be expected. Wow, there he is, wantonly destructing his own home. Sorry about that. It is to be expected that improved methods for controlling and eradicating bacterial infections will continue to be developed. But viral infection is another issue. At one time, it was thought that selective inhibition of viruses was near to impossible because viral infection is using host mechanisms. We now know this to be, fortunately, not entirely true. And there's an example, successful therapy for HIV using protease inhibitors has been very successful. And protease inhibitors may also be able to interfere with the life cycle of other entirely different viruses. This is, you may know, is one route being actively developed to inhibit COVID infection. Now, the practice of medical science, practice of medicine, was greatly influenced by 50 years ago when Archie Cochrane gave his pivotal lecture introducing the need for evidence-based medicine. Today, it's almost we all accept, without thinking maybe, how evidence, introspection, and evaluation are the essential tools of medical development. It must not be forgotten that critical to this is the proper statistical evaluation and strict elimination of bias, including confirmation bias. The randomized controlled trial protocol introduced by Archie Cochrane is the bedrock of practice. It is important. I should say it is ignored at our collective peril, as sometimes it is. under pressure for action or for profit. And for instance, you may have noticed that recently the FDA licensed an unproven Alzheimer's drug. We've seen amazing developments in the last few years, and I want to just mention a few, somewhat randomly, things that I'm interested in probably. Take genetics, for example. When I started, Mendel and Morgan had mapped genes to chromosomes. Model species were well underway, Drosophila cinerabditis a bit later. And however, there was very little known about human genetics. A little bit of mammalian genetics was available by breeding mice, but not very much and not very relevant. And it's difficult to analyze human genetics without artificial breeding. I don't know if any of you looked at this, but there are the statistical methods are really rather horrible. That's from me, a non-mathematician. I think mathematicians enjoy it. But you then went on to structure of genetic material, to DNA, first published in 1953, and then subsequently, about 20 years later, it was possible to clone specific pieces of DNA, first of all from bacteria, and then from using bacteria from other species. And the DNA sequence later became possible to find. Finally, the huge international effort of genomic sequencing, that's not just sequencing a little bit, but trying to sequence all of the DNA in an organism, culminated in the human genome in 2002. And what's the function of all these sequences? They're inherited, and they're read off to give us all our lives, but what are they all doing? And I must say there's very little information about that when it started out. Huge amounts of sequence on the computer, very little knowledge about it. And my own contribution using ES cells, where the ability to test function of any mammalian gene by targeting a mutation in mice is now almost the general method for doing that. And I should also say, of course, and I'm not going to say much more about my own subject, ES cells, they have opened up the pathway to regenerative medicine. Now, another interesting development, and I'm just picking developments through the ages, if you like, monoclonal antibodies, first developed in 1975 by Kohler and Milstein. These are pure antibodies, single amino acid chains, and with single affinities. So they bind specifically and selectively. And so therefore, they're very useful for detecting a particular target, and now used all the time for diagnostic screening. But they're also, in recent years, they've come into use as a therapeutic option, a particular drug that will actually hit one specific target. And of course, in order to do that, they've had to be humanized, first of all, by biochemical manipulation, and subsequently by making them in mice that have been themselves humanized in the genes which are involved in making the antibodies. And those mice, of course, being made by techniques which use ES cells and gene targeting. Now, the other thing which you may have noticed is terribly useful, I'm sure that doctors these days really think they couldn't do without, is diagnostics. Particularly, of course, X-rays have been going for a long time, but then the CT scanning was only developed by a man called Housefield in the 1970s, and he was an EMI computer scientist. He actually was responsible for developing the first, or one of the first, if not the first, big mainframe computer running completely on transistors rather than valves. And when he'd done that, EMI said to him, well, you know, what are you going to do now? You've done our project. And he said, well, he had got a personal idea that maybe you could use computers, brand new in those days, to actually get a 3D reconstruction from a series of different positional photos. And that's where CT scanning came from. Similarly, of course, MRI depends on computational. And of course, computing, we now take it for granted that we can have databases, we can have PubMed, we can look anything up easily. It's had a huge, okay, I'm talking about medicine, but I mean, it's had a huge effect in medical science, just in the spread of information. I'll mention that a bit later. Now, finally, more and more, you might be interested in more and more developments for diagnosis at the bedside. I mean, one very good example is the recent use of lateral flow tests for COVID, which has now come into generally accepted practice. And another one, which is also COVID has brought up, you may have noticed, is nanopore sequencing. You can now do DNA sequencing with a little box about this sort of size and a computer. And it's done in a few hours. Now, we mustn't forget the huge advances in pharmacology, surgery, and other areas, which I'm not going to mention further. I just wanted to give you some idea of the enormous range of developments that have happened. Now, I come to this as a scientist, but you will have a very different and vital role. You will be translating our knowledge of medical science into personal care, looking after patients who are often worried and may be in critical condition. It is no longer theory, it is practice. Here it is, the extreme importance of caring and interpersonal skills that you've been learning will come into play. I'm sure you'll be developing these to an even greater extent in forthcoming years. Now, you graduates going out are entering upon a journey of lifelong learning, and your tutors will hope that much more than the knowledge they've imparted to you is an understanding of the methods of learning, of analysis, of intellectual thinking, which should serve you well for the rest of your days. Go out into the community, your community, to educate, to encourage thought, not prejudice, and be prepared to defend education. In this world of mass communication, massive open online courses, YouTube and virtual lectures, academics face a fundamental question. If information is everywhere, as it is now, does anybody need a university education? Well, I think the answer is that education gives you the keys to understanding. All of you here are clearly a testament to the value of education, to the benefits of learning in an international environment and of research-led teaching. The internet helps share information, but the volume of misinformation, more than ever before, highlights the need for evidence-based knowledge and understanding. I feel that by far the best prospect for the future, for the responsible application and regulation, must lie not only with us, but with a much better informed public. We must use this knowledge and how we apply it for the good of humankind around the world. Now, at this point, your guest speaker will often pause and give advice and encouragement to you to follow your dreams. But dreams are illusory, fleeting, and insubstantial. And of course, some of them are nightmares. Far better to have vision, have confidence in your abilities. After all, you've proved you can do it, you've just graduated. Trust your own abilities and thoughts and be prepared to share, explain, and defend them. You will be amongst the professionals who will lead this and other nations. it will not be an easy job. There's a lot to be done, and I hope you all leave here with a solid determination to contribute to the culture, welfare, and prosperity of your family, your communities, and of mankind. So I urge you to be gatekeepers of good sense and the educators for tomorrow. Use your power to go out and make the world a better place, both individually and globally. With all my very best wishes on your success and your future. Well done.
Thank you, Sir Evans, for your inspiring words to our graduating class. We are now going to recognize the valedictorian of the School of Medicine. I now call on the Vice Rector for Academic Affairs, Professor Loizo Simeu, to acknowledge our students' accomplishments.
Good evening. Academic Excellence Awards are given to students who are graduating with the highest grade point average from the school. The valedictorian of the School of Medicine, who graduated from the six-year program of medicine as summa cum laude, is Miss Κλειό Anastasia Haris Metakidis. Κλειό Metakidis is graduating with a 4.0 grade point average, GPA, namely with straight A's, which is the highest ever achieved in the School of Medicine. The valedictorian, Miss Klios Metakidis, will receive also an honorarium of 3,000 euros for her achievement. The honorarium is kindly offered by N. Ergon Scientific. I now call the Rector of European University Cyprus, Professor Andreas Evstathiou, to present the Academic Excellence Award to Miss Klios Metakidis.
Thank you very much, everybody, really. First of all, good evening to the academic staff gathered here with us tonight, my fellow graduates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by saying that I am honored to stand here tonight as the valedictorian of our graduating class of medicine 2022. And I would like to thank my fellow graduates for this opportunity to share my address, because this is probably the last time that we'll convene here all together before our respective journeys take flight. I would also like to thank our loved ones, though, because they supported us on our path a lot. They believed in our dreams, they encouraged us when we felt defeated, and they celebrated our wins. Thank you for being our anchors that grounded us in who we were when we often lost sight of the bigger picture. We survived 6 difficult years together because, as if medical school wasn't stressful enough, we also had to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. We all had to adapt quickly and remain focused, which is a lot easier said than done. We made it work, though, and with that in mind, I think we can all feel even more proud of our accomplishment. Medicine is a journey, and like all journeys, the journey itself is more important than the destination. In fact, the root of the word journey means day, emphasizing our daily activities and not our lifelong goals. Doubtless, today is an important milestone, but milestones are just reference points to see how far we are in relation to a certain destination. They serve as an opportunity for us to reflect on our achievements and prepare for the next chapter of our lives. The number one question a medical student gets asked is how many years you have left until you finish. Now it's going to be how many years you've got left of your residency training, and it'll keep going because we'll always be chasing a dream, but that dream will keep evolving along with us. So don't just count how many years before you reach your dream. Count the days and the moments that you have with your family, your friends, your mentors, your loved ones. Life is not a mountain or a career ladder that you are required to climb. It's a long-distance trail. And we should look at each chapter in our lives as equally important regardless of where it leads. Now, this is not an invitation to disregard the future. In fact, living in the moment prepares us for the future too. If we invest in our mental health today, we'll be better prepared to deal with the stresses of tomorrow. If we see ourselves as more than MDs today, we'll be better doctors in the future. And always remember that you can never be too busy for the things or people you love. I've talked about how the journey is more important than the destination, but the second insight is that we also have to be open to the possibility of detours, of itineraries that keep on changing, of a journey that may look completely different than the one you had envisioned. Now, because of that, we always have to keep our hearts open, and even though we want medicine to be an orderly field of knowledge and procedure, we know it's not. It's an imperfect science, an enterprise of constantly changing and uncertain information, and at the same time, lives are on the line. The gap between what we know and what we aim for persists, and this gap complicates everything we do. So as a new generation of doctors entering this new era of medicine, our future holds a lot of uncertainty. And as we continue to grow and learn as doctors, we will confront situations that will force us to think of the world in terms that aren't simply black or white, right or wrong. We must thus strive to find beauty in the gray area and revel in the nuances and complexities that make medicine an art. It is never simple, but simple is not what we signed up for. And so while in medical school they taught us how to think like doctors, I hope we also don't forget to think like human beings. Because in the end, medicine is a deeply personal and human experience. It's a delicate and demanding art where the end result is a renewed life for our patients, free from the suffering and fears any illness may burden them with. To conclude, I want to congratulate this new cohort of doctors with boundless potential who have finally earned the credentials of MD. Thank you again for this incredible honor, and I look forward to seeing how our journeys unfold.
Thank you, Cleo Metakidis, and congratulations on your achievement. I now call on Dean Johnson to proceed with the investiture of hoods and conferment of degree ceremony for the Master of Science in Infection Prevention and Control and Antimicrobial Resistance. Graduands, please stand and please proceed for the investiture of hoods and conferment ceremony. Distinguished guests, dear parents, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased and honored to present to you the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Infection Prevention and Control and Antimicrobial Resistance. Each graduate will be hooded by the Chair of the Department of Medicine, Professor Theodoros Xanthos, and will be conferred their degree by Dean Elizabeth Johnson. Graduates of European University Cyprus School of Medicine 2022 who will receive the degree Master of Science in Infection Prevention and Control and Antimicrobial Resistance are Eleni Fotiou, George Shamakidis, I now call on Dean Johnson to proceed with the investiture of hoods and conferment of degree ceremony for the degree of Doctor of Medicine. Graduands, please stand. Graduands, please proceed for the investiture of hoods and conferment ceremony. Distinguished guests, dear parents, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased and honored to present to you the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine. Each graduate will be hooded by a faculty member. Wearing the green hood of medicine marks each graduate's completion of the requirements for the degree Doctor of Medicine. Following the investiture of their hood, each graduate will be conferred their degree by Dean Johnson and then will proceed to sign the School of Medicine Book of Graduates. Clinical Professor Petros Agathangelu, President of the Cyprus Medical Association, General Secretary of the Medical Association of Athens, will witness each graduate as they sign their name for the first time with the initials MD after their name, and will turn their tassel from left to right, signifying their graduation. Graduates of European University Cyprus School of Medicine 2022 who will receive the degree Medical Doctor are Glio Metakidis, summa cum laude and valedictorian, will be hooded by Professor Theodoros Xanthos, Chair of the Department of Medicine. Michael Adaja will be hooded by Professor Ioannis Patrikios, Deputy Dean of the School of Medicine. Rogi Hosea Fabel will be hooded by Professor Anastasis Stefanou. Zeyat Al-Jazraoui will be hooded by Professor Nikos Zamboglou. Kyriaki Albanidou, magna cum laude, will be hooded by Dr. Dimitrios Papadopoulos. Eleni Apsogardou will be hooded by Dr. Vicky Danilatou. Ioanna Aslanidi will be hooded by Dr. Stelios Kakoulis. Minas Aslanidis will be hooded by Dr. Panagiotis Economidis. Styliani Athanasopoulou will be hooded by Dr. Dimitris Dourakis, Vice Chair of the Department of Medicine. Christopher Barakat will be hooded by Dr. Elias Nikas. Panayota Bariotakis will be hooded by Dr. Violeta Rafai. Stella Marie Beckhaus will be hooded by Professor Ioannis Patrikios. Eleni Biliraki will be hooded by Dr. Aris Angouridis. Vasiliki Boudioukou Spinari, summa cum laude, will be hooded by Dr. Konstantinos Ekmekzoglou. Maria Haridou will be hooded by Dr. George Hadjigeorgiou. Nikolaos Hadjieleftheriou will be hooded by Dr. Nikos Karpetas. Eleni Christodoulou will be hooded by Professor Theodoros Xanthos. Sophoklia Christodoulou will be hooded by Dr. Adamantios Michalinos. Kyriakos Christopoulos will be hooded by Dr. Maria Tsitskari. Elpida Dimitriou cum laude will be hooded by Dr. Haralambos Philippou. Dimitra Dervu, cum laude, will be hooded by Dr. Eva Zvedanova. Christodoulos Dimaragis will be hooded by Dr. Andreas Yalouris. Mohamed El Essawi will be hooded by Professor Ioannis Patrikios. Maria Fokou will be hooded by Professor Anastasis Stefanou. Alexandros Gialas will be hooded by Professor Nikos Zamboglou. Pavlina Grigoriou will be hooded by Dr. Dimitris Papadopoulos. Paula Hale will be hooded by Dr. Vicky Danilatou. Despina Iordanidi will be hooded by Dr. Stelios Kakoulis. Grace Janis will be hooded by Dr. Panagiotis Ikonomidis. George Karakaidos will be hooded by Dr. Dimitris Dourakis. Minoida Karyanaki will be hooded by Dr. Elias Nikas. Tala Kasuha will be hooded by Dr. Violeta Rafai. Bismela Kasim will be hooded by Professor Anastasis Stefanou. Ευθυμία Καβαλιεράτου will be hooded by Dr. Konstantinos Ekmekzoglou. Maria Konstantinidou cum laude will be hooded by Dr. George Hadjigeorgiou. Olivia Krug will be hooded by Dr. Aris Angouridis. Nefeli Kyprianou will be hooded by Dr. Nikos Karpetas. Isabel Lange will be hooded by Professor Theodoros Xanthos. Lara da Silva Ferreira Alves Gruter will be hooded by Dr. Adamantios Michalinos. Maria Latzouraki will be hooded by Dr. Maria Tsitskari. Brua Ahmed Lauko will be hooded by Dr. Charalambos Philippou. Philippos Loulelis will be hooded by Dr. Eva Tsvetanova. Harula Liberopoulou will be hooded by Dr. Andreas Giallouris. Anastasios Panagiotis Magris, summa cum laude, will be hooded by Professor Ioannis Patrikios. Vasilios Mavrikos will be hooded by Professor Anastasios Stefanou. Mark Mayer Prius, summa cum laude, will be hooded by Professor Nikos Zamboglou. Stella Oswald will be hooded by Dr. Dimitrios Papadopoulos. Asina Oz will be hooded by Dr. Vicky Danilatou. Elena Pandazi will be hooded by Dr. Stelios Kakoulis. Iakovos Papaioannou will be hooded by Dr. Panagiotis Ikonomidis. Anastasia Peru will be hooded by Dr. Dimitrios Dourakis. Lena Pilemeyer will be hooded by Dr. Violetta Rafai. Pinelopi Pikramenou will be hooded by Dr. Aris Angouridis. Paul Shuete will be hooded by Dr. Konstantinos Ekmekzoglou. Philip Siebert will be hooded by Dr. George Hadjigeorgiou. Christoforos Sokratou will be hooded by Dr. Nikos Karpetas. Denis Stavru will be hooded by Dr. Iva Zvedanova. Dimitra Siru will be hooded by Dr. Adamantios Michalinos. Ioannis Tsoumas will be hooded by Dr. Maria Tsitskari. Yvonne Tuzing will be hooded by Dr. Charalambos Philippou. Ismini Janaki, summa cum laude, will be hooded by Professor Theodoros Xanthos. Ekaterini Vasilikou will be hooded by Dr. Andreas Yalouris. Christina Vichel will be hooded by Dr. Aris Angouridis. Frideriki Panagiotta Zora will be hooded by Dr. Konstantinos Ekmekzoglou. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the Hippocratic Oath ceremony. Clinical Professor Dr. Petros Agathangelu, President of the Cyprus Medical Association, will lead the Hippocratic Oath and swearing in of the class of 2022 of European University Cyprus School of Medicine graduates. Dr. Agathangelu, please come to the podium to lead the 2022 graduates in the Hippocratic Oath. Graduands, please stand to recite the Hippocratic Oath.
As a member of the medical profession, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of humanity. The health and well-being of my patient will be my first consideration. I will respect the autonomy and dignity of my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life. I will not permit considerations of age, disease or disability, creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, social standing, or any other factor to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will respect the secrets that are confided in me even after the patient has died. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity and in accordance with good medical practice. I will foster the honor and noble traditions of the medical profession. I will give to my teachers, colleagues, and students the respect and gratitude that is their due. I will share my medical knowledge for the benefit of the patient and the advancement of healthcare. I will attend to my own health, well-being, and abilities in order to provide care of the highest standard. I will not use my medical knowledge to violate human rights and civil liberties, even under threat. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Congratulations.
Congratulations, graduates. Thank you, Dr. Agathangelu, for honoring our graduates. Would Dean Johnson please come to the podium for her closing remarks?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's obvious that the class of 2022 no doubt waited a very long time to be called medical doctor. As we close this commencement ceremony, I feel the need to give you 3 final words of advice, some of which you've already heard from our honored speaker, Sir Evans, as well as our esteemed rector. Be passionate, be humble, and be compassionate. Let your passion guide you as you make your choices, but in doing so, be humble. Acknowledge that you don't know everything, and much of what we've learned will be refuted or eclipsed in the future. You've heard this many times. But my final word is be compassionate. The word compassion in Latin means to suffer with. While suffering may be inevitable, your new role will give you the opportunity to connect with your patients on a deeply human basis. Remember that you can heal even when you cannot cure by the simple act of being kind, of caring. Graduands, today we joined you to celebrate your greatest moment, even though you jumped the gun a little bit, from your transition from medical student to medical doctor. Our confidence in you is very great. Our hopes for you are very full of promise. Your success now becomes part of our growing tradition, of those who've gone before you, our alumni, who are now skilled doctors and scientists around the globe. Yes, you are now part of establishing the rich legacy of our medical school. So now, I hereby confer the degree of medical doctor with all the rights and privileges to those graduands named today. Congratulations, class of 22.
Thank you, Dean Johnson. Dear graduates, you clearly enjoyed doing it the first time, so I'll give you a second chance. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I hereby give you the class of 2022. Dear graduates, we extend to you our warm congratulations. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, you are kindly requested to remain in your seats until the recessional is complete and the platform party and faculty have left. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 School of Medicine commencement ceremony has come to an end. Thank you for joining us on this very special occasion. Have a good night.